discussed more often. That's not really discussed as it should. I guess because of the stigma behind it or whatever reason. But I wanted to talk about like sexual assault in men, you know, and I feel like that's something that's not really discussed as opposed to like sexual assault in women.
Right.
You know, we hear about that a lot, right? But I feel like we don't really talk about it, and I feel like there's so much to really say, but I feel like maybe a lot of guys are shy to talk about it, or they just feel like it's not sexual assaults, right? So I guess I want to kind of get like each of your perspectives and kind of see what y'all feel. Do you guys have any personal stories? I mean, I'm not saying about yourselves personally. I mean, if you do, hey, it's a safe space. But I don't know. I just want to kind of have a conversation, like a real genuine conversation about that.
So personally, sexual assault generally, it's a hard topic to talk about.
It is.
You know, male, female, whatever. It's really difficult. What happens with men, because it's not something men necessarily want to listen to or talk about, it's hard to go to another man and talk to him about something that he doesn't necessarily want to hear. You know, those of us who feel a way about it, for some of us, it's taboo anyway.
Right.
Even sexuality-wise, let alone be it an assault. You know what I'm saying? For some people. So it's difficult to listen to. When women say it so freely, I want to die.
Say what's so freely.
When, I was going to sit at 13, I was going to sit at 14, and they just want to run past it like nothing happened. I want to die. I'm like, yeah, why is that so casual for you? Truth is, real life still has to happen after that for these people, for anybody who's been assaulted, right? I'm assuming. And if real life still has to happen, they have to go by doing things that we do too. So yes, if she brushed through it or if he ran through his conversation, I was assaulted when I was 14, it's because they too know it's not something necessarily get into with someone you just met, or unless it's someone you're really like opening up to about the story. You said it's not something we talk about enough. A man who really doesn't like the idea of assault is probably thinking it's something he doesn't even want to hear at all. You know what I'm saying? It sucks. It sucks, but it still sucks to hear.
And so I think a lot of people don't really know what consent is when it comes to sexual encounters. And so to your point, they don't know when they've been sexually assaulted, right? Because like a lot of people who are like 10 and 11 were touched by somebody who's 17, 18. Is that considered assault, right? Like a lot of us kind of think about assault as like a grown adult, like 30, 40, touching a kid, but it happens in like various ways. I think being a member of the queer community, there's been a lot of guys who've been assaulted by other guys. And so you don't want to tell your friends about that, right? You'll get embarrassed. Like you don't want to tell like, hey bro, I was touched by my uncle, cousin. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people just feel like, one, as a man, you look weak being assaulted because it seems like you couldn't defend yourself. So like there's a stigma around being weak and being like not able to hold your own. And on the second side, it's like, I don't want to also like out somebody who was close to me. A lot of sexual assault happens in families, right? Like a lot of it's not always somebody who is like so distant. Sometimes it's your uncle, your cousin, your aunt, like, you know what I'm saying? Whoever it is. And so I think it becomes such a convoluted conversation. I think we need to open the door for men to talk about their emotions and be able to cry, be able to say I was offended, be able to say it hurt my feelings,
and
be able to forgive themselves too, because especially for younger people in the young age, teenage years, they probably don't know any better, like you said. And then when they come of age and like, oh, this happened, then they probably have guilt built up, and it's like, how do I express this? I don't have nobody to really go to that I'm comfortable with, but we have to be that community. We have to be that community. What's going on, Felix? That, we can be as like, hey man, I'm here to support you. We can open conversations like what we're doing here with T. Like, this is a great environment. And just to show example to other people, like, yes, male and females, they get sexually assaulted. But life's all about healing and fulfillment and purpose, and like we gotta be each other's shoulder and be there for each other, especially when somebody's uncomfortable in a situation.
Do you think that, because like he just brought up, like as a man, if that were to happen to you, you feel less of a man, and like just him saying that kind of like trigger something, like it doesn't make a lot of sense because why would, like, as a man, you feel like you could not defend yourself.
Right.
So for you now to admit to somebody that you were touched, you know, it kind of like makes you question your manhood.
I mean, but what if it happens at 11?
Yeah,
Or 8? Or
exactly.
13?
At a younger
They haven't
age,
even got
at a
that.
younger
But
age, I wouldn't necessarily say.
But I'm not okay. So this is for y'all to talk about.
Right.
So correct me if I'm wrong. But as a little boy growing up, you're taught to be a man at an early age, right? You're taught to man up, toughen up.
But not everybody's taught that though. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That goes back to not just sexual assault, which just
Your
it's not being
parents.
talked about. It's just therapy period, and with just males. You know what I mean? A lot of what's going on in society is because it hasn't been talked about. Not just sexual harassment or sexual assault. It's just in general your upbringing. Or now look at how this person is acting out in public, or why doesn't he like certain women, or why does he like multiple women? You know what I mean? So you pretty much can they're living out their answers or without even saying it. You know what I mean? If you're abusive to women, it's probably because you got assaulted when you was 8 by one.
Right.
You know what I
Pay
mean?
attention
So
to
it's not even
behavior.
just talking about being assaulted or I don't feel like protecting myself as a man. It's like I went through something as a kid and now I'm acting on it when I'm 30, 25, 35 years old. Your wife has no idea or your boyfriend or husband has no idea. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no healing process within that.
it's way deeper than just the assault. It's, you know, males just need to talk and get therapy more frequently.
One thing about women is like y'all are very open.
Yeah,
so,
I was about
you know,
to say that. So
man,
is it because that we're able to communicate and talk about our
Yeah,
issues.
you
and we're
ready
feeling
to talk.
sad, but as men, you guys are taught to not do that.
And that goes
Or
right
you
back
just-
to what you
don't-
were saying.
or
like
you're just
Peter
not
was
second
saying,
taught,
it
but you just
depends.
don't
It
feel the
depends
need.
on your parents, your upbringing, your
Right.
community.
Okay.
Like for me, I'll give my example. I was raised like I had ex-military dad. My mom's very strong, independent woman. So like the mentality was like, yes, man up. You know, throw some
Yeah.
dirt on it, duct tape type stuff. And there was no really like talking about emotions.
Right.
And you know, I noticed in my later teens and my young 20s, like being expressive and like transparent with how I felt was difficult. And I can imagine how it could be difficult for somebody who was sexually assaulted at such a young age. Like they'll more than likely, yeah, I would hope they get some therapy, you know? What's up?
So it's not for me to say the ethically correct thing or anything, but no child who was molested could have saved themselves. Not one.
Right.
Of course.
Not none.
Of course.
All right. So for me, when that happens to you, for why women might find it a little bit easier to share that story is really kind of what you were saying, right, Tyra? It has more to do with position in life, right? And I hate it. Like I said, the fact that women say it so freely, like it's so many women it's happened to.
Yeah, man.
It's because for them, it's almost, if it happened to them, crazily enough, it's not way out of this world. You know what I'm saying? When it happens to a dude, he's carrying that for
Yeah.
ever and ever. And maybe patriarchy has something to do with it, or maybe, you know, us over thinking about sexuality has something to do with it. However, there's still real life to live in. And yes, our dude's gonna look at you a little side-eyed, whatever it is. They don't have a clue what they're looking at you side-eyed for. But the second you tell that story, they're gonna look at you a little side-eyed. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably guilty of that too. You know, I went to an all-boys military school and there was nothing you could have done for those boys who got, you know, dungaed or molested. There was nothing you could have done. What are you going to do? Go fight somebody who's like 5 times your size? I mean, you could never see it anyway, right? They know how they coax those kind of dudes. But you know what I'm saying? It's not because the kid necessarily want to do it, but if you make his life easier for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old in military school where I'll protect you, this and that, people fell for that too. So it's not brute force all the time. Sometimes they just know how to coax people into that. Now, one thing I'd say is this, and it's been tough because I went to 6 years of military school, so you see it happen. Something happens to a dude in his first year, right? You live your whole life, 6 years with him, you're over it, you've lived with him, gone through all the training, he's a soldier just like you. Then 2 terms before graduation, like second semester, senior year, right? You find out that he did it to somebody.
Okay.
That was
Never
something that happened so many times, it drove me nuts. Like, okay, so it happened to you. We catered to you. We were like, no, we're gonna get through this. It's nothing. Nobody's thinking about it. We get through this school. We're soldiers now.
How old was it?
He around 18, he did it too. Around 17, he did it
No,
too.
it's
Okay,
common.
so-
It's very common.
All right, so now this is the whole thing, right? This is U.S. That was Africa, right?
Uh-huh.
And in Africa, that is something that is huge and it's still happening, you know, but we shun it, you know, like it's nothing. Like it's not shit. Okay? And to those watching, sexual molestation is something, you know, that we actually have to pay attention like back in Africa. Okay? Because this, right? As a child, be it 7 years, 6, fucking 9, 12, whatever it is, they would not know how to actually take it. Because now Africa, right? Like we are so fucking playful. You know, like we take everything, you know, as a joke. And old ass women, you know, can call a 4-year-old, you know, my boyfriend, my husband,
Sure.
you know, all that stuff. You know, but they don't get it. You know, they think it's a joke, you know, until it actually happens. That's what I'm saying, right? So I feel like, you know, Africans, literally, if you are watching this shit, you have to pay attention to your kids. That's really, you know, that's it now.
I don't know if I necessarily agree that you can't do anything about it as a child. I feel like that kind of thinking is what puts people in those predicaments often. Like I think sometimes we have to give kids a little more agency. Like reality is a lot of kids are taught, listen to adults, period.
Yeah.
And so what happens is when an adult tells you something that you don't really see fit, you think I have to listen to them anyway, so I'll just say yes, opposed to saying like, no, that doesn't make sense. You should teach kids to have a little more autonomy. Like for me specifically, I was in like 2 positions when I was younger where it could have went that way, but because my parents taught me very young, like stand up for yourself. Don't let nobody tell you nothing crazy. I was able to say, I'm leaving. I was able to get out of the situation, right? But where another kid may have been like, my parents said listen to adults. You're an adult. Here I am, and now you're in a predicament where you can't get out of, but you really could have if we allowed that kid to say like, hey bro, like
We gotta
no.
be careful with that. I know what you're saying. I 100% agree. Like, teach that autonomy and just, you know, sticking up and supporting yourself and defending yourself. But that at the same time, if you're gonna bring that up, you gotta bring the evils of the world up to that child.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at the same time, like, talk to your kids. Like, even the idea of sex, right? Sex is a conversation that has been held on to for years and years. I think kids just know more than we think we know, that they know.
So my thing with that is I'm coming from an angle of where it's kind of, I think I was watching an entire Bank show years ago in like 2006 or something, and she was telling women, like, she don't care if you're 5'10", 220. If a dude, if you think you want to fight a dude, don't fight him. I was coming from that angle. The truth is, I meant physically, right? If a child is going to get molested, there's nothing he can do about it, right? Now, the coaxing part, yeah, that's stuff some of us are taught early, right? I'm an 80s baby, so I'm a little old. There's a movie from the 80s called, late 80s, I think, called I Know My First Name is Steven. There's part 1 and 2. It's a true life story. In Boston, used to be ridiculous for kidnapping kids back in the days, right? So I watched I Know My First Name is Steven, and that's all he knew about himself that the dude took him, right? And I watched that right on my way, like I think a year later I went to military school. So when I heard those things happening, I wanted to die. I'm like, yo, this is happening, niggas. I'll kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? But then, good Catholic kid, who could I have really killed physically? If it ever happened to me, if it ever came to me.
Like, in the moment, it's nothing you can do.
It's not doable. You're coming to military school with a guy who's doing it to you 4 years into his black belt in karate.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. It's tough to talk about. That's why we're probably not loose enough too. You know?
Yeah, I feel like I do feel like it's kind of intense. It is a kind of a touchy subject to talk about.
Those are the ones
you
we
really
should be
can't talk
pursuing
freely
after.
about it.
All I would say at the end of the day, as a child, I think sometimes your parents can put you in situations where you're around people, they may think that that person is whoever
Great
they
point.
think in their eyes. But as a child, you never know what people think. I mean, I have friends who babysitters pulled down their pants and did things to them. I've had an experience where church lady watching me 11 o'clock. I was 11 years old. She made me some food at her table. She said, I'm gonna be right back. This lady left fully clothed and came back with her towel around her waist. And then came up to me and was like, how's your food, baby? And touching on my shoulder. And I was like, get the fuck off of me. So I mean, I think it's situations where, cause me as a child, I always kind of looked at people like, why are you looking at me like that? You know, and it's so, I've always been like a defensive person to that extent. And even after that situation, you know, but growing up, I didn't know that, you know, I had a sexual altercation with another person until you grow up and realize, hey, that wasn't right. You know, like he said, you'll follow along with what someone who's older than you is gonna tell you because you think that they know better than you or better for you. Right. So it's like, you know, I just knew I never liked the lady. So like once she put her hands on me, I was like, don't touch me. Yeah. Just shrugged it off. But everybody isn't able to have that kind of defense mechanism. For sure. And some people are just taking over. Right. And so I think like with male assault, most of my friends who I know who assaulted me.
I feel like a lot of, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of guys have, not a lot.
It's probably
I don't
more
want to
than
say
you
a
think.
lot. More than I think.
Yeah.
Has similar experiences. It doesn't have to do with
A whole lot.
really like, having sex. It
one
can
in
be
five
something
or
like that.
But it's
you know?
like,
But that
I mean,
happens all
but
the
to
time,
be a
bro.
child and see a 47-year-old woman in her mid-40s, someone you don't even like, I never liked her. I always felt like she had negative energy. And when I grew up, I made excuses for her. I was like, well, she was from Jamaica. So I was like, is it her culture to just walk around, you know, children with all their towels on, but I wasn't your child. And that's where I had to make the point in my head. I wasn't this lady's
I want to
child.
ask you, so did you tell anybody about this?
You know, I didn't tell nobody. I told my dad maybe when I was in my mid-20s.
What did he say? What did he say?
So he was like, you should have told me that I got you some help. I mean, it bothered me to a point it really didn't bother me until I really grew up and really understood that, hey, that she crossed the line. I could say, oh, that's just her culture. You know, people in Africa walk around with no shirts and da-da-da, but that's their culture. That's their environment they're in. You're in the United States, Decatur, Lithonia. You should already know. And then the simple fact that you're someone we go to church with. You done ate at our dinner table. My mom done made you food at our dinner table with your husband. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I think that a lot of adults really, if you have kids, don't trust nobody with your kids but yourself. And some parents can't even trust themselves with their kids. But definitely not nobody else.
What's up?
James?
So let me say this. Let me ask first. How old were you around the time where that might have happened, where she was walking?
I was like, shit, 10, 11.
So let me say this. It's not a disclaimer or anything, and I understand how that can affect somebody. However, I grew up in homes, because we used to move homes a lot growing up. My mom and his sisters were hustlers, you know what I'm saying? In a good way, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes we're gonna live in Festac with my mom, sometimes we're living in Agudel and Tibimbo and his sister somewhere else. My aunties walked around their kids naked. They not changing shit up for you if you stay in their house, bro. If they need them boobs out, they're gonna be out. They're not molesting you. They're not. In fact, if you look, they might slap you. I'm serious. I'm just saying. So I'm not accepting what you're saying necessarily. But what I'm saying is, my mom and her sisters and even my mom's friends, if they walked around us naked, they weren't even looking at us as if we're even bothering about it. If you let them find out you were actually looking, they will murk you, bro.
But when someone comes in and leans their breast into your face.
Yeah, she was doing something else, bro. Yeah.
But you know, it's not just an African. It's not just an African thing. I've heard so many stories about even here, the mother freely walks around her children naked because I birthed you children.
That's your mother.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm just giving examples. Like it's not just an African thing.
Well,
it's
we were home.
Here.
It was just me and her. I think her initial. If she would have felt like, if I would have been cool and just, hey, she would have took that towel off and just hey, he almost a man, he about to be 12 type shit.
Oh,
you know?
gosh.
Okay, so
Like-
can we kind of reroute that conversation for a little? Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah,
real quick?
so you all were talking, just made me think like statistics.
Okay.
So I went on to nsvrc.org, and so I'll just read like some. So we're talking about male sexual assault, but I still want to mention the female sexual assault.
Okay.
Okay, but it says here about 1 in 4 male victims of completed or attempted rape first experience it between ages 11 and 17. That's 1 in 4 men who have been attempted. And then nationwide, 81% of women and 43% of men reported experiencing some form of sexual harassment and or assault in their life. And then 1 in 3 female victims of complete or attempted rape experienced it between the ages of 11 and 17. 1 in 5 women in the United States experienced complete or attempted rape during their lifetime. So these are just, like I said,
And that's
One in how many? What was that
reported.
last thing?
one in 5
Exactly.
women.
That's just
Reported.
One in
Reported.
reported.
Right, reported ones, right? So imagine the ones that are not been
not
reported.
reported. That's what I'm saying.
But I also think at the same time, like,
Fucking sad, bro.
when you think about like B2B, like I was thinking in my mind, thinking about the things that like are said to women that are offensive that I don't think are offensive when said to men. Right? Like if an older man is talking to a
Right.
younger woman and he says, "You look grown," or that body, it's offensive. It's like, "Hey, bro, relax." But if a grown woman says to a young boy, "Look at you, you're gonna be somebody's good husband. You look like a grown man already." It's like, yeah, you don't he, girl? Like it's a very different like
No,
interaction with both. And I feel like because patriarchy, misogyny, all those things definitely play a part. But I think also like to your point, right? Like you didn't feel scarred by that as a young person in real time, right? Like when she did that, you didn't feel scarred. But with women, like that thing can take a toll on what happens to women when they're molested, when they're assaulted. Like that like affects how they date men, how they let men in. And for young boys, I know some of my homies
Might be
like
reversed.
low-key felt empowered by it. Like, yo, I got man, this old lady was on me, you know what I'm saying? And it's like
she
you
was
felt
an attractive
yeah, she
person.
wasn't cute, so you
That's
wasn't
why
having
they're
it. But
attractive.
had she been your type.
That's-
Okay,
that
that's
spurs-
the conversation that I was trying to kind of take in a
That-
different
yeah.
direction because as far as like men, not men, little boys or teenagers who have experiences, their first sexual experiences with older women, like how do y'all feel about that? I mean, it's very common.
happens.
It
I've had
happened to
friends-
you
It
guys.
happens, but
So
that don't make it
it
right,
happened
though,
to
'cause
you.
trauma is
How do you
trauma,
feel
you know what
about
I'm
that?
saying?
Like, yeah, so I'm saying, so do you consider that as sexual assault?
Hell yeah.
I mean, you're still taking advantage.
I mean,
you're
that's
taking
what I'm saying.
advantage.
So
because you
of
accept it, that
whose
means
mind
it's not
isn't
sexual
totally
assault?
in the place
Nah,
to
little
understand.
him being that young doesn't know no better.
My thing is
sexual
is
assault.
our acceptance of that, or is our ability to not look at that as a big deal. Does that have something to do with patriarchy? Like I'm confused
Yes.
as to why. Okay, so because here's the thing, right? It never happened to me, but if it did, I don't think it would have been a big deal to me. To this day, even I would be like, oh yeah, it happened, big deal. Because when men tell that story, it's like whatever. However, when we tell the story when it's a man that does it to you, it's a whole other story now. You know what I'm saying? That's tough. I don't know what to do with that. For me, I was very big on. I was a good Christian kid. I was very big on not having. I really was. I know. I was very big on not having sex before 18 at first. You know what I'm saying? I made it. I did it. I actually did it. You know what I'm saying? I really did that. My thing is when boys were even having sex at 12, I used to be so confused. Like, how do you know what to do, bro? Like, what the hell are y'all doing?
They
So-
made this thing called porn. It'll teach you everything you need to know.
I definitely
Now
didn't
they
see porn till I was like
born in
17.
the 80s.
I didn't see porn till I was
Yeah,
17.
I seen porn early.
See,
We
but
had
my
nudie
thing,
magazines,
my thing is
remember?
this: how are they sexually? I wasn't sexually after 12, 13, even 14, bro.
Yeah.
But these kids were doing it to each other, even, and it's not always
Yeah.
it's not always a situation where it's a senior or something.
Facts.
During my interview, before we actually got into the school, 2 boys were caught messing with each other. One of them still got in because his father was a soldier. I'll never forget their names. I wouldn't say it, but then it drove me nuts because I was a 9-year-old at the time. I was too young, but these were 12-year-old boys, 11-year-old boys doing this to each other. Nobody forced anybody. So this is something that y'all do already. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's tough.
But that's not assault though, right?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
No,
Absolutely
those
not.
2%.
It's not assault.
But I do think the difference though is like, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was about to say it's the household. Like you said, you was raised in a real Christian household. I was the same way. Conservative household.
So that Christians
We
can't get
can't
assaulted?
close our doors in our rooms. So it's a very like vocal way of living. I mean, it's a way of living that, you know, we were close set family. But when you go outside of what your norm is, that's when you can get introduced into things that you aren't really,
I wouldn't really say that. I feel like no matter what kind of home you come from, you can still experience any type of abuse.
That can happen, but most of my friends who were way molested by women, they never had a father in their household. They never had anyone to really sit there and show them.
I get
But
what
I'm
you're
saying
but
that
I don't
still
think
plays
it's
a part
it plays a
in
part,
sexual
but-
assault. Like,
No, I get what you're
someone,
saying.
if there's no one there to defend you or teach you how to defend yourself, you're gonna be open to it. He was raised by his mother. He told me, shit, this lady gave him head and he was like a little kid. It's like,
crazy.
you know, like he was under 12.
So disclaimer is
I don't
this,
know,
right?
but sexual
Disclaimer
assault
is this.
happens
My
in
mother's
church.
not
Happens in
a
church.
my mother's not a rah-rah Christian,
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
My mother's not a rah-rah Christian at all. I went out of my way to be that Christian. One thing. Two is I was definitely raised by a single mother. Nobody ever even came at me like that because she told me even, you know what I'm saying? My mother would tell you, if somebody touches your head, bang their chest and run. She didn't want to hear it because back in the day, they still us if they touch your head, they turn to yam, they turn to goats. I didn't want to turn to none of that. So for me, it's like, wasn't us touch your head like this? What? I'm hitting niggas' chest and I'm running off. Like, it happened, I did it twice. I didn't know you. I don't know you, don't greet me by all the man. Hey, fine boy, nope, bam, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? That's what she taught me. But you know what I'm saying? Aside of that though, it's like, I think what he was going for is more of the sexuality part, not necessarily the assault part. It was saying we didn't get to see those things early. So if we weren't exposed to them, it was hard for somebody to come and bring sex as a way to coax you into sex.
Yeah.
You already weren't having it, so you're not doing it anyway. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the angle he was going for. I might be wrong.
so.
So I feel like, right, if parents could actually teach their their kids at a younger stage, I feel like that would help.
Teach what?
Teach teach them like a
Birds and
little
the
exactly
bees.
like I think that would actually play like a huge part in actually trying to get rid of all this huge merging. You know, if you know what I'm
No,
saying?
can I say
So-
something real quick to kind of cut you off? I don't think it's fair to say if our parents taught us something,
Because that could
it
backfire.
would prevent us. It would prevent that from happening. Nothing can prevent sexual assault, no matter what kind of home you grew up in, no matter what kind of lifestyle, whatever, anything. Nothing can prevent it. So let's.
But you can always try.
What do you mean?
A child.
Yes.
Yes. child is tough.
Yes.
You
You
can
can always
prevent
try.
sexual assault. Being sexually assaulted.
You can. Yes.
That's
you can
not
always
fair
try.
to say. No.
I mean,
As
That's
a
not
child,
fair.
as a
I'm
child.
just saying,
No,
you can always try.
I'm gonna jump. I didn't say this statistic,
You're right.
but you're saying to teach a child about the birds and the bees and defending themselves and trying to prevent that situation. But this last statistic, I'm gonna say to piggyback on this part. Over half, 52% of male victims reported being raped by an acquaintance, a family member. 15% by a stranger. So imagine somebody's aunt or uncle or older cousin or somebody, right? The child's defense is probably down or something. Like they're not gonna be like on edge because they're not a stranger. This is their aunt. This is their uncle. You know what I'm saying?
Cousin.
If they
That's what
like,
I'm saying.
If they like, put the defense up. You're not stopping adults from molesting
That too,
your
man.
child,
But you can
bro.
try though.
That's
Stop.
not fair. Don't
I'm-
say
I'm-
that.
I'm just
And that's
saying.
one thing, Felix, I'm gonna
Okay.
cut you off on. I mean, I respect everybody's opinion. You can say whatever you want, but I feel like certain things is just that's a gray area or whatever, because you can't sit there and say that as a child or sexual assaults can be prevented.
I don't think sexual assault.
It can never be
The education of it.
Even no matter
Yeah,
what, even
yeah,
education.
But
Even
you
the
get what it's
nothing
saying.
can
You
happen. I
can't sit
get
there
what
and
you're
say
saying.
like some people have
That's the
kids
same
that are
thing as
very
saying with women
intelligent.
getting.
They're
That's the
smart,
same thing
and
like
if
you're
they're
saying
told
with
something
women
to
getting
value,
assaulted.
they will do
No,
it.
that's
Okay,
the same
okay, so
argument
think
as
about
for
it,
women
like what
getting
she's saying
assaulted,
now.
but women wear a certain
Yeah,
kind of
what's the
clothing or
woman
whatever.
supposed to do?
Now
Fight the
you wanna say,
6'5",
oh,
280
because
dude
she's a
off her?
woman.
No, I'm saying once you're, if you're gonna be taken advantage of physically, you're done, right? No one's saying that, but I think what we're trying to say is teach your kids how to put themselves in positions that it doesn't happen, but not doesn't happen, that it doesn't welcome that
being
to happen,
aware
right?
of their surroundings,
Right.
like,
if you're the only
look
kid in a
forward.
room full of adults, leave. If you're the only, like those kinds of things,
Okay,
teach your
yeah,
kid
yeah.
younger, right? Like what does consent mean? What does autonomy mean?
I mean, but
what
kids
does,
can kids can assault kids too, though.
no, I mean, you're going to see us die, right? Reality is, it's going to be casualties. But I'm just saying, like, you're going to put your kid in position to win. No one's saying that it's inevitable or it's foolproof. If you're going to get assaulted, it's probably going to happen, right? But at the same time, like, put yourself in position to where you have a better chance at it not happening, is what I'm saying.
Obio,
Yeah.
it's funny because when you were giving those examples, you said one was, oh, if they're in a room full of adults, leave.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming at you in a room full of adults. He wants you isolated, right? You can't know, like you said, your defenses will be down when it's someone's
It depends,
uncle.
brother.
You went to their
Brother,
house after
stories,
school.
James, I don't know, James.
No. I'm just saying. I'm saying. I think we're putting too much we're putting too much whatever on the kids. Too much pressure on the child to know these things.
Oh, no, facts.
We
The
can't
pressure's
know.
on the adults.
We can't know.
Goes
What
back to what you're saying
That's
about
just-
education. If they say this or if they
Hey,
do
but
this,
one
or
valuable
they
thing
do that.
about teaching kids about the birds and the bees, and just having better parenting is it's more of a long-term thing. You'll see like a community is more people who are, more wholesome. And, hopefully if you're raising good children, you have good people, and you have a good person, then you have a good community, then you have a good country type deal, you know what I'm saying? So that's more of a
Sounds
long-term
great.
typical feel.
Yeah.
He said it sounds
I mean, it sounds cute, but I mean,
It is
reality,
cute as
I
fuck.
mean, it's hard to spot a molester, right? Like somebody in here
Yeah.
could have molested somebody, we don't know, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm not pointing no fingers. But like, at the same time, like you never know. I think to the point, like it happens in churches. You think the pastor's somebody you can trust, but the pastor is such a kid, like you just never know where it
Worst
happens.
ones.
So I'm saying, like to Tyra's point, like there's no way to
prevent.
prevent it, right? Like at the end of the day, it's gonna happen no matter how good you teach your kids, But I think at the same time, like, hey, to your point, the onus should not be on the child. The onus
That's
should
the
be
word.
more so on the person who's doing it, right? Like, we're kind of like
Exactly.
victim shaming people. Like,
Yeah.
women, what does she have on? That don't matter what she had on. Like,
That's what I'm
saying. That's
that
what
ain't
I was
like
getting
she-
from.
So I have an example, right? And this is a true life story, right? It was a girl, she was about 12, I think about 12, 13.
You got us crying? About to cry? Are we gonna cry?
No. So, of course, her parents taught her at an early stage, on what to do, just in case that, was to happen. Guess what? Her uncle tried it. She broke a bottle. Like, literally gave him like a freaking,
Yes.
bruh, he had to go to jail. Like, he was in jail for a long ass time. So that is what I'm saying. Like, you have got to let your kids know ahead of time, just in case.
That's a lucky
At
child.
least try.
That's a lucky child.
At least try.
That's a lucky child.
Bro, there are a lot of lucky kids out here, bro.
They're not a lot. Trust me. There's
Okay.
less lucky kids
There's
than
more less
those
lucky
statistics.
kids and yes.
Than those statistics.
Exactly.
But then
less
there are
lucky.
some kids who are really nice
James.
kids. They're empathetic. They're sensitive kids, so they wouldn't even know how to defend or push off something that great. So I mean, it really takes. I've always been a smart kid, and I've always known if I don't like it, I don't like it, and I don't want to be a part of it. So, but everybody's not like that. I mean, people who can be taken over by strong personalities. So I mean, like you were saying, it might not. It can happen anywhere, but I think because I don't believe like it's the saying. There's no such thing as evil. There's ignorance, and when you have enough knowledge, you can circumvent a lot of things, a lot of evils in your life. And I mean, our parents was like, if someone touch you, yeah, but
Okay, so I want to ask you guys this question now, right? So if you had a child and you taught them everything they were supposed to know about adults, about sex and all that, and it happened to them, and you taught them everything, like you're saying, you taught them, that happened to them. So what now is
I'm
going
not
to
saying that it can't happen, but there's a better chance of it not happening.
But I'm saying, like, is that still fair to even say? Because I feel like no matter what, no matter how much you're going to try to school your children about sexual assault, it can still happen no matter how much you think you're being protected.
We're not saying that it's that it's not gonna happen. Like
No, I get what you're
we're
saying,
not
but I
trying
feel
to
like it should.
cancel that out.
No, I get what you're saying, but I still feel like it's not fair to say. I just think we should have this mindset that sexual assault can just happen no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter what you've been taught. It's why we're making excuses and saying, oh, you can do this and maybe this can. No, it can happen point blank, period.
But at least,
No.
they would have the knowledge.
They'll have the knowledge. They'll have the knowledge. They'll have the knowledge.
Guys, what does the guy who walks into jail, 6'4", 270 himself, do about 4, 6'5" dudes, 290 dudes, holding him down, raping him? What does he do about it?
No, I get that.
That's a totally different.
But that's not always the case.
We're talking about sexual assault. We're talking about
No, I'm not negating that, but I'm saying like there is. I think we're taking assault as like this one hitter quitter. Sometimes assault is coerced, right? It starts with a touch. It starts with the compliment. It starts with the come over later. You know what I'm saying? It's not always this whole like I'm gonna just get you. And, like,
Right.
It's like this very like hey, you look cute, and so then you can pick up on the signs. So if you teach kids, hey, like if someone's giving you a very lewd compliment and they're older, like if someone is touching you on your shoulder, if someone is bringing you over inviting you over late at night, and someone's on the internet asking you to send them pictures, like those kinds of things can help you.
And shit.
Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like those kind of things. But at the end of the day, I feel like to your point, you can't. If you're in the moment and someone's gonna overpower you, I don't think you should victim shame anybody by saying, use your pocket knife. Like no, you're not wrong for that. The whole onus is on the predator.
In my opinion, that's the worst part.
That's what I was trying to get
That's
at.
the worst part. Like the victim shaming, not the victim shaming, but the person then living with the guilt.
Facts.
Because then that destroys their character, and if they don't heal from that, then their social interactions could change. The way they perceive certain people can be different. There's all different types of.
You can be confused sexually. Like a lot of guys have been talking about women, they're like, you don't like women, not because you were born that way, because now you're like, dang, like I didn't like that encounter. So now you're like confused sexually. All that stuff happens to men. And then you don't talk about it too, because everybody's gonna laugh at you if you are confused over whether they like women. So it's just, I don't know, it's a whole bunch of things that go down, and it's just a lot, a whole lot.
All I think,
That was good.
if the whole sexual assault, or I guess I'll keep it on male sexual assault.
Let's keep putting it.
It's very important. Regardless of sexual assault, actually, I think it's very important now. Males in today's day and age are more open with their emotions, their mental health, and just like their past traumas and experiences.
Hell
like,
no, I'm joking.
I'm about to say, whoa. All right, let's see why not. Nigga. Like, see, I think I've seen a therapist before, and like that was a great experience.
How old were you?
I was actually 25, 24, and I'm 26. Yeah. Because I've had traumas, I had things I went through, and but like I said, I was raised in that household where I was told to be tough, and men shouldn't be showing these emotions and cry. So I had these just boiled up emotions, and just then it was like one day I was like confused and just like, well, okay, how do I express this and that and just deal with these situations? So I can imagine for people who are sexually assaulted at a young age, how confused they can be. And my only advice for anybody out there is just seek help. Just talk,
Word.
Just heal.
Find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Shit.
Because one person makes all the difference.
Dude.
Sometimes, you're right.
Sometimes.
No, it does. It does. But so I guess as far as like men and like y'all emotions, because like I said, I do believe like as men you are taught to model in your emotions and not say much about.
My dad did not teach me shit.
Yeah.
So
My
like,
dad
I wanted to
is
ask
My
you
dad
guys,
had to
what were
mention
you
about
what were you taught? Growing
Well, you know
as a- growing
how I
as
was
a
taught, so I'll
young
let somebody else
boy.
take the
I
floor.
think I was always a really smart kid. So I think, I had a lot to say because I had a lot going on in my mind. But I think growing up, we're always told that men are hard and quiet and you can't be creative. You can't, have thoughts that are just, that doesn't have to be geared towards aggression and sports and things that just of that nature. So I think a lot of men, because I did kind of bog that in. Because I was someone who was like, well, okay, I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball, soccer, all this sports, but I was like, I wanted to read, I wanted to research, I wanted to create shit.
Man,
I wanted to go into drama, I wanted to do all that. But my dad was like, oh, coming home from football practice. Oh, you going to the NFL? You going to the NFL? We gotta get. So it's like you're automatically just put in this section of like, oh, you're a boy. That's all you gotta do. Like with me, when I have children, I want them to be not like my parents didn't teach me how to be well-rounded. But at the end of the day, I do have friends who, when they talk to me and they see how I'm very, loquacious. Like I'll talk to you. I opened up a lot of people's minds and they're like, you know what? I never had nobody sit there and just listen to me and talk to me in a certain way. And they be like going through a lot of hard fucking shit.
Yeah,
and it's
man.
like, but as men, we're taught like, no, you can't have emotions. And of course, I was the youngest boy, so I had older brothers and friends who, you know, oh, you're the sister, so that kind of pushed it down even more too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
I'm really glad we had this conversation. I'm really glad we're actually having this conversation.
Yeah, emotions was something I've had to learn. It's a skill.
everybody
It's a
is
skill
is
to
being
speak about.
human. If you don't have if you do not have emotions, you are not human. You are a monster.
To this day, and let me say that I have emotions, and my mother did as well. But to this day, my mother gives no fucks, bro. Like seriously, like she wasn't about to coax you about nothing. Your dad isn't here. Every time she curses us out, she was blasting that dude properly. Your dad ain't for the doubt. You would know this. Your father will not die. What? She don't give a fuck about nothing. Toughen up, bro.
Wow.
You know, she's from Bangladesh, she was from the streets, right? So you're grown up in Festac and you're complaining about going to normal school. You want to come back and complain. Complain about what? My friend, want to sit down and do your homework. My thing is this, right? My mother was a very, very good person. She wasn't rah-rah church, but she put us in church. You know what I'm saying? You go do all those things. Like, let me handle this. Let me handle being a single mother. Still, you can't teach against sending a kid up to New York if you live in Atlanta. He goes to military school in New York, and somebody's coaxing him every day with things he has never seen in his life. Say some rich kid in military school is giving him good stuff every day, giving him things he's never seen in his life. Sometimes they fall for that too, and it sounds crazy. But that time, these people are predators, right? Yeah. So they're
It's
skilled at
probably
what
not
they
their,
do.
sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
But I was gonna say, because right when you said these guys are predators, it's not their first time. So more than likely it's not their first time. That's what I should have said.
It's a cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is a cycle, yeah.
We talked about this earlier, how it more than likely happened to them. So they're just repeating history. They're just, it's a sick
That
cycle.
part sucks. Because I want to understand that part.
I might have been raised different, but emotions weren't taboo in my household growing up.
Yeah, you was
Like for me, like
that's good though.
I mean, it's a good thing, I guess, but I think also it depends on the kind of kids you have, right? Like even when it comes to disciplinary situations, right? Even a kid who's more deviant, you may discipline them a little more tough than you would a kid who follows the rules a little bit more. Essentially. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I feel like my parents raising me knew that like. He's an outlier. He's a little different. I'm gonna let him do his thing. Now my brother may have been a little more normative, so I'm gonna raise them differently. So I guess I'm saying like when it comes to your children, like pay attention. Yeah. Right. Like and so like when it comes to like teaching how to have emotions, like not making it a gender thing, right? Like not saying girls you can cry, but boys you can't, or boy you play sports and girls you cheerlead. Like give kids back to the original point, bro. Give kids autonomy to let you know like what they want to do. I think we don't give kids enough credit. I get it, like you want to steer them. But like kids know a lot more than you think they know. You know what I'm saying? Like I just believe that.
Okay, well, I'm like I said, I'm glad we had this conversation today. It's a conversation that
needed to be happening.
We can go on and on about this all day long, but you gotta. But no, really, I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. It creates dialogue. That's something that needs to have. So, for sure. Good talk, guys.
You should leave a
Hotline at the bottom of it, let people know if you have any.
How'd you like to close this?
Yeah.
I just feel like I just want us to just be have healthy conversations.
I was gonna say
Continue
this.
to have these kind of healthy conversations.
Healthy
I
conversation.
was gonna say this because I don't know any other way to say it, but if you're a young cat, you're a kid between whatever ages, bro, hit them in the chest and run, bro. Just hit them in the chest and just take off. If the door is locked, you're doomed, but just take off. Do something, bro. Just get the hell out of there. Do
And-
something. Fight.
And be open to seeking help and talking to people and therapy. Therapy's a hell of a thing.
Well, let's not talk about kids. Let's say men.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We
Okay.
said all
Boys
ages don't
become
matter.
men.
Boys.
It
No,
doesn't matter.
When I mean kids, I mean let's not talk about women or girls. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Men,
absolutely.
Boys,
Yeah.
Whatever.
men, yeah.
Talk.
Men of all ages,
Yeah.
it's okay. Talk, seek help.
To be honest, that shrink stuff drives me nuts, bro.
Oh yeah.
I
It
know
does.
that.
It
Eric.
drives
I know
me
that.
nuts. I've never understood
talking to
speaking to
nobody.
somebody else who I feel like I'm probably as smart as too, right? Just real life. I've never understood them.
I'm not even
talking.
just saying just therapist.
And that's the thing, right? Sometimes it comes to us condescending, but I look at them as, what is it that you're telling me that's supposed to help fix me on something? I mean, I've never had,
Nah, sometimes-
I've never had a reason to go see one. I'm
Yo,
not,
James.
maybe I'm like,
James.
I'm just like you, bro.
James,
No,
it's not
everybody's
not that they need somebody to tell them, not necessarily like what to do or like how to
Not
heal.
like therapist.
It's that they need to
Exactly.
hear. You
I know,
know?
my therapist.
They just might need somebody because they don't have nobody
Hold
to
it
speak
up.
to.
So hold it
So they
up.
can
Was
see
it
the
up?
music. Nah, you
Oh,
gotta
okay.
That's about it. So we done.
all right, guys.
Ah,
No more talks about male sex assault, bro. Yeah, that was tough. That was good. Oh, y'all
yeah. Yeah, man. Like the icy mornings today, bro. Like, you look at you, twist up. Look at you, bro. You look good, bro.
Nigga, like,